LaDibi e oggi siamo qui con un ospite molto speciale. Hi guys, it's LaDibi here and I'm going to introduce you one of the special artists I met in my life. She's the awesome, amazing Rachel Brice! Rachel, how are you?
Good.
Thank you for coming again in Bali. I'm so happy.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy too.
I would like to ask you if you please can share one of your amazing stories you tell us already in the retreat about your dance journey. So how did you choose to express yourself through the dance and how it was happening?
The whole thing?
Up to you.
Okay. All right, the short version of the whole thing. I was a teenager, never had danced, and was at one of these American Renaissance fairs that enacts Elizabethan times, 1590s. And I saw a woman with curves, beautiful curves, and she did this thing where she did a hip drop, and when she dropped her hip, she let it shake and settle. So she dropped it and it goes vroom, 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 and then she went afterwards and ever since then my favorite thing about belly dance is the shake. And so I started taking classes right away and then quit because I thought I'd never be good, and then decided I didn't care if I was never good. I loved it. I had to do it anyway. And then started my journey. There was no tribal belly dance then, there was no internet then, there was no YouTube. So I felt very free to mix my own influences because no one would see except people that came to the restaurant for dinner, and they don't care about belly dance. So I just worked to satisfy my own self and moved to San Francisco to study with Suhela Salampour and Carolina Noricchio and Jill Parker, and to dance in those restaurants after I quit. Okay, let me go back. So I quit belly dance because it didn't feel like, I didn't find my place in it. I saw a picture of Carolina. I decided to go to school for dance. Then I got back into belly dance, moved to the Bay Area, said I'm going to be serious this time, and studied with all of my heroes. And then ended up, doors just started opening because, well, I think the main reason doors opened was I got a big lesson early in my dance career where I had gone to the management of a restaurant to apply for a job. And he wanted the dancers to fight with each other because then they would not feel loyalty with each other, you know, divide and conquer. Yeah. They wouldn't feel loyalty, and then he could continue to pay them less and less. Not every restaurant, but this one. And the dancers became angry with me. They said I didn't charge enough, I didn't know. So I moved to San Francisco, I learned my lesson. I did not approach the manager, I approached the dancers. Yeah. And said, I love this restaurant, I would love to work here, and if you ever need someone to cover for you, I'm happy to do that. And then eventually, I won't tell the long story about the audition, but eventually I got into that restaurant. Didn't have a regular night, was just a substitute, but then they started calling me all the time because Friday came, they don't feel like it, call Rachel, she'll do it. Saturday came, call Rachel, she'll do it. And pretty soon someone said, why don't you just take my shift? And so I was able to do that and make friendships and build trust, so they knew I wasn't trying to get in and get their job. Short period of time. They said, oh, just take a shift, it'll be fine. So started dancing with the live musicians that were there on the weekends, and they recommended me to other people, and then next thing you know, I'm dancing all the time, and then ended up getting a recommendation for Belly Dance Superstars. And so basically the beauty of the story is the more that I trusted what I loved, and the more that I connected with other dancers and women and put friendship in front of competition, then things really opened up. So
it's so nice.
It was really nice. Yeah. Yeah, otherwise it's just, why do it? It just doesn't feel good.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You know, I love your story. When you tell us all these things,
I'm always so shy to tell stories because I'm like, oh, they want to talk about the dance. But I know when I see my teachers, I'm like, no, tell me what it was like and what you learned and so.
Yeah, because I think it's really important to know how the things was going for you, to kind of collecting more experiences from different places and from different persons to understand that.
Yeah, to see how they were able to manage it. Especially because with belly dance, there's not a set way to necessarily make a living doing it or to have opportunities. Not like they're used to, not like ballet or other forms where they say you do A and then B and then C and then you get a career. We're all just figuring out our different ways to do it. So it's helpful when someone has achieved the ability to make a living at it to find out how they did that, how it worked.
Thank you. Yeah. How is dance important for the life to keep the balance, and how it is important in your daily life?
Okay, so how is dance important for life in general and then for my life?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny you should ask that because I was thinking of going to school to answer this question and doing more research across different dance forms because for me personally, I feel like it may have saved my life because I have attention deficit hyperactive disorder, as you know, and a lot of people have this disorder and have so much energy that they cannot have a regular job. They have a difficult time managing emotions because energy is so big that it turns into frustration sometimes. And if I don't dance, I will become irritable and intense. And I hear that from a lot of people, that if they don't dance, it's bad.
Yeah.
And so I know for me, I can have a problem and then go teach a class. And as long as it's a really sweaty, very challenging class, afterwards, my whole perspective shifts and I can relax. And so for me personally, I love yoga practice, I love Pilates practice, and they're good for me for preparing and finishing, but dance is really the only thing that has helped me to kind of focus the energy and burn it at the same time. And I know belly dance in particular for me and for a lot of women and some men too, it's such a body positive dance form. And its emphasis is really about appreciating what you have and emphasizing your strengths rather than comparing yourself to a perfect external ideal. And I think that's what moved me the first time about this woman who was emphasizing her curves. She wasn't just okay with her curves, she was putting things around her curves and then hanging jewelry off of them that would move and then making sure that they would move and going. She was loving everything about herself that at the time I lived in Southern California near Los Angeles, you know, you were supposed to be one thing. And it blew my mind. And I'm sure for, depending on the person and what they love about belly dance and what they choose to pursue, it can be extremely liberating. But like any tool, it can also be damaging. You know, I've seen people get into dance communities and start to become divisive or competitive or compare their dance to someone else's or find that someone else's success is a threat. So like anything that you do, it's important to be principled about it. And I'm not always, you know, I forget all the time, but when I teach, what I want for people that I teach reminds me of what's important for me too. So, and as far as the greater world is concerned, I don't know. I'm so in my little belly dance world, and I know it's important for a lot of dancers for belly dance to be recognized, and I feel differently about that. I feel that I don't care if anyone else in the world doesn't recognize like the beauty and the power and the joy and the liberation that can come from this form, because we know. And if we focus on getting stronger, we won't have to use any words. You know, there will be no, it's good, it's good. They will just go, whoa. Like Zoe had a story one time where National Public Radio saw Beats Antique Show, and the announcer was talking for the radio. And he's like, oh no, a belly dancer's coming out. Oh, I'm nervous about this. What's this going to be like? And then he's like, oh, this is stunning. Wow, I didn't know that this was, she is spectacular. I am totally surprised. So I feel like we don't need to talk about it. We just need to continue to love it, and it will speak all for itself. So, but I know I'll be happy if the rest of the world acknowledges it, but if they don't, I'm happy in my little world, you know, making it for myself and for the people I know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you have some special suggestions for the people that really want to become a professional dancer? Something like about the practice, how can they plan in the daily practice, and what about the techniques and the theory too? What could you suggest us?
Okay, well, as far as becoming a professional dancer is concerned, it would depend on really what you want to do as a professional dancer. So if you wanted to be a professional touring dancer, then you would and decide like what realm you would want to tour in as a professional dancer. Would it be with the circus? Would it be with a touring professional dance company? Would it be like for festivals? You know, would you do a festival circuit? And depending on what would be demanded of you in that context, then that's what you would probably want to focus on. So, you know, people that want to do the festival circuit, technique and improvisation would be the most important. If you wanted to develop a stage show, then composition and stagecraft, and then of course technique would be the most important. And if you just want to teach and travel and teach and have students, which I know is some of the most rewarding work for a lot of people, then you would need to develop teaching skills as well as technique and an understanding of the theory behind it. When I decided that I wanted to take belly dance outside of the restaurant field, because in America that was it. That was the only option. I loved it, but at a certain point I wanted to put it in the theater.
Yeah.
And that's when I decided to go to school for dance ethnology and study there, and I got my dream and my wish. And when I got my dream and my wish, I realized that that wasn't necessarily what I wanted to do, because there's something about the spontaneity that I really loved. And I think, you know, people like Jelena, she has a real talent for stagecraft and creating a whole scene, and I think depending on who you are and what you want to create, you would just say, these are my goals, I would like to have this in 5 years. So what do I need to do every year to make this happen? And if we're talking just technique, because technique will be important no matter what you choose to say with that technique, it is incredibly helpful to brainstorm a list of everything in belly dance that you would like to learn. You know, if you want to learn Jamila Selampur format, then write out everything in that format. If you want to learn ATS, write out everything in that. And then you can have a big list, and then you could learn one every 10 days, and then practice everything you learned up to that. You know, and then have another 2 weeks, okay, now I'm focusing on Arabic hip twist, but I'm going to practice everything else. And you could make a little combinations or studies based on everything you've learned so far, so you can keep that technique. And probably the most important tool that you can have is your video camera.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you have a teacher in your area, sometimes even if you have a teacher, they aren't going to be as necessarily as concerned about your technique as you are. My teachers used to go, oh, you're fine. And I'm like, I am not fine. You know, I would video and be like, and make big lists. And in the first few years, that was painful to see where I needed to change. But then once I learned about having a positive mindset and about a growth mindset. And I saw, instead of saying my arms look bad or my posture looks bad, to say, okay, I need to work on my arms, I need to stay lifted, really specific things. I need to stay lifted, I need to stay relaxed here. And then if you write that down for ideas for your next practice, then you will already say, oh, I need to stay lifted here, maybe I need to do a yoga practice or touch with my posture at the beginning. If you start to speak in positive reaches, then ideas about how you want to achieve that will start to happen. And pretty soon you'll have a list that's so big that you'll have to break it into sections. And so that's how the studies developed, is I had so many things that I want to practice every day to stay strong in my technique. And I'm never satisfied. Like, as soon as you focus here, then your arms need work. But I'm hoping to eventually have a strong enough and thorough enough sequence of studies that I will be able to stay, as ballet does, you know, you do this, and then you do this, and then you do this, and then all of your technique is strong. That's your ritual, and then you can move on to making dances or improvisation. So developing a practice, that was probably the most frustrating part of college, of my college education, is I wasn't taught how to practice.
Yeah.
And so I would rent this huge space and go in there and kind of dance around for 3 hours, but did not know how to chart my progress or what even to work on, and I was so frustrated. So found a few books and started playing with some techniques. And
So Rachel, what about your training program?
The training program, the 8 elements of belly dance. The 8 elements of belly dance is, it's a 4-phase program, and the first 3 are belly dance training, and then the 4th is training in how to teach. So the first phase starts at the very beginning because this whole format has just been developed. And even if you already study belly dance, you might not know the terminology in this style, so I just pretend that you've never danced before. We start at the very beginning with hip work on the up, in place, you know, finger symbols. And the training program covers technique, musicality, vocabulary, meaning like dance, steps and movements, vocabulary, improvisation, choreography and composition, and practice, adornment, and performance. So those are the 8 things that we cover, and we, you know, it's only 3 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks before the teacher training part, so it's barely enough time to cover everything. But I feel like what the 8 elements is it people that don't know how to get started in researching what they're interested in get so many resources, and we read 3 or 4 books throughout the course of the program, and they do book reports and have final projects and things along those lines. But we just barely touch on it. But what the practice component that is taught is, most importantly, that you find a way that works. And they get their experience with, I say, these 10 things you need to know when you come back. So they start to get an experience with prioritizing what's important and how to self-assess. That's the hardest thing, is to say, do I have it, do I not have it, what don't I understand, and how can I learn to understand this? And so in the beginning, we start out from the very beginning. We learn the history of tribal fusion belly dance and talk about a little bit about costuming. And then phase 2, we dig a lot more into technique, where I go from it being introductory to like having expectations, higher expectations. And when you hold those kinds of expectations, people rise to them, and it's very exciting to see. And then in the 3rd phase, we really focus on choreography and composition and the tools for developing small ideas into big ideas, and really focusing on the shape of a piece, because at that point we've worked on technique and now we want to say something with it. And in the 3rd phase, we rent a big theater, and we have a lighting designer come in. She's got a master's degree in lighting, and she's an artist in residence in Portland with one of the small art houses there. And she teaches us about lighting, and then we take that lesson to the theater and we rent a theater with a full spread, and they light their own pieces that they made in 5 days with people they don't know. So it's very exciting. And then phase 4, they come back and they teach and teach and teach and just get lots of practice teaching what they've learned. And that's been really incredibly satisfying to see people start to teach from a positive place, because that's one of the major focuses for me is how can you hold high expectations for people while being incredibly supportive. Instead of high expectations and you better do this. That's what we think of as motivating, you know, using anger to scare people into working, but then they're not relaxed and flexible, and they can't access all of their artistry, and creativity doesn't flourish in that kind of an environment. So that's been amazing, learning how to, and giving people the practice of effort praise, and learning how to say, I know you can do this a little bigger, there you go, you know, like there you go, and when they do it, being like, wow, I'm proud of you. So it's it feels like I was confused for a while about what I was doing, and then I decided to start this training program with my partner, and it feels like the right thing.
And I'm really happy you're doing this. I would like one day.
Yes, I would love to see you there. I feel like you would drink everything up.
Yeah.
The way you're like, what's that? What is that? What is that? What is that called? Where is that from? Give me an article. Do you have that book name, please? Where do I find out about that? And that's what I love about sharing information. So it's like a big party for me. It's a big party that takes a lot of energy, but it's like an information party. It's so fun.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. If you think about one dance you did or one performance you had from the past that you really loved, something really special, some moment really special for you, did you have kind of special thinking during that dance? If so, which one it was?
I remember which one. Well, there's two. The first one was many, many years ago in this tiny, tiny town, in this tiny little party. There were probably 40 people there. And I was just kind of at the top of my game, as they say. I knew my technique was strong, and I loved the music that I was dancing to. It was that perfect place where you know your song really, really well, but you're not tired of it at all. It still has energy for you, which is, it doesn't always happen, right? So I loved my costume, I loved the song. It was a small venue, and it was really casual. And I don't know what happened exactly, but I felt not only a lot of confidence about what I was doing, but I loved what I was doing. And I sort of disconnected from the audience for a moment and just felt this bliss. And then at some point I looked at the audience again, and everybody was going. And then with that realization, it like filled me with this feeling of power, not power over, but I just felt bigger than life. And then I got to play with that energy where I didn't, look right at people and go, or anything, but just to be able to feel like I had the whole room and they were giving me like this big energy to play with, and so that I could push and pull it, and I just felt like bigger than life. It was insane. I've never had that feeling since, and it was like 9 years ago. It was amazing. And then the next best one was just a year and a half ago when I got to dance with Salotto de LaDibi in Europe. So they've been one of my favorite bands for a long, long time. Super, super fast Romanian gypsy traditional music, just like the fastest guys ever. And so I had to train a lot to get fast enough because my shimmies were not up to speed, so it took a long time getting super fast. Then when we get to the music festival, we realized they don't know, their manager did not tell them I was coming.
Ooh.
And they don't know what I do, and belly dance is not traditional, so I didn't know if they were going to hate it. And so I was super nervous and really in the moment because I was scared and right before I got on stage, you know, I took my cover up off and one of the guys looked and he went like that to the other guy, like, look, and they looked and they're like, because I'm in a bra and that's not traditional. I was like, oh God, what am I doing? They're gonna hate me. And then I thought, well, if they hate it, then you may never get to do this again, so you had better just drink it in, just like you are dancing live with Turaf Dukes, and this may never happen again. So, and all of a sudden I just totally dropped in and went out there and was that same bliss state. I was fast enough, my training was, you know, I had everything that I needed, and then my elbow hits someone, and I turn around and Kalyu, they also call him Angel, was like smiling, beaming, playing right at me, and I was like, he likes it, he likes it. And we started talking with our eyes and having a call and response. And then, so I'm laughing, and next thing you know, I feel that all of the strings, have created a half circle around. And in the video that I have online, you can see I turn and I have to go like this because they're all so close and they're leaning in and they're smiling. And then when it was over, we looked at each other. I'm so glad someone got a picture of this, and both of our eyes were shining.
Wow.
Where you have that moment where two artists are like, hey, you know, that was, and I was just on to the moon for days after that. And then we got to do another performance a few days after that, which was even better in some ways because he knew that I could improvise and that I was following, because when he's going to make a change, he stands up and everybody looks at him, and then he drops into something else, and so I could be there with them. And it was to be able to work improvisationally with improvisational musicians on that level was, I could do that every day. It was so fun. So I don't know if we'll get a chance to do it again, but we might, who knows. There was a definitely mixed response. Yeah. Yeah, some people loved it and some people were like, that's not traditional, and they loved it. Turaf Dukes really loved it because all these belly dancers came backstage after the show and they were like, women, oh my God, bring her back on tour, bring her back on tour. So.
Could you share please with us one of your favorite fun facts from your dance careers?
A fun fact, like something funny that happened, or? Oh yeah, I have one. Okay, you know how people wear garter pants or pants that have a slice?
Yeah.
In them tribal fusion, this has become a style.
Yeah.
Do you want to know how that happened?
Yes, please.
So I had these pants, these cotton pants for tour, and when you're on tour you can't just go get more costuming, right? So I had these cotton pants that had a flare, and I put them in the dryer and they shrunk. And I was like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? I cannot wear these, you know, these short pants on stage. And my boyfriend was traveling with me at the time, Pentaphobe, who made a lot of the music for Belly Dance Superstars. He also toured with us for a while. And he said, well, how about the next time that we stop to get petrol, that you get some safety pins and just cut it and then add safety pins, and then I'll give you another inch.
Oh.
And I was like, oh good, but it still wasn't long enough, so I had to cut it twice. You know, so I had one here with safety pins and then another with safety pins, and then so it was kind of like a little punk rock pant situation, but only because I couldn't get more pants, I had to think of something. And the dancers I was dancing with liked it, and then they started slashing their pants, and then I started seeing, and they call them like garter pants, and I still think it's so funny. I like the way it looks. I ended up cutting my own pants later too, and doing all kinds of things with that idea, but I love that it happened because I put my pants in the dryer and I had to do something to lengthen them. So is that the kind of fun fact you mean?
Yeah, I think
okay,
so.
Okay, all right. That's one. I think that's the funniest one I can think of. Yeah, I think that'll work.
Thank you. Yeah. Rachel, do you want to say something to our friends?
Yes. yeah, if I could say one thing to people that are wanting to increase their ability in any way, it would be to just know that intelligence is not fixed, creativity is not fixed, ability is not fixed. You can grow in any direction, and that if you think, oh, you know, I'm not really smart in that way, or I'm not good at that, that's only because you may not have found the way to help you get good at it. So people learn in different ways, so if you're attempting to gain skill in one way and it doesn't work, then just get rid of it and go to the next way. And as I told you before, since I have ADHD, the ways that they prescribe for most what they call neurotypical people, the way those people acquire skills is not always the same for me. So I have to take teaching and adapt for myself, and I'll try it and go, nope, try it, nope, try it. But if I'm committed and dedicated to finding a way, then I will. If I'm just kind of, yeah, I'd like to do this, then I'll try and I'll try and I'll give up. Like cooking, but I'm getting better with that.
I'm not, I'm still really bad.
You're Italian, oh my god! But no, I'm getting better at it. So yeah, that's what I would say. If you feel like you're not good at improvisation, then find a way to get good at it. If you feel like you're not good at choreography, maybe you'll never be the best choreographer based on how your brain is built, but you can begin to try and find out. And maybe you won't end up where you thought you would, but you will end up somewhere else. You know, to just follow that train and yeah, and just keep at it.
Thank you very much, Rachel, for your time. It was a great pleasure, as usual, to talk with you. And see you soon.
Okay.
See you soon. Bye. Ciao.